And good evening, everyone. It's coming up on 8 o'clock here on the east coast of the U.S., New Jersey. It's no snow, but a little chilly out there for tonight. I'm just making sure to see who's in the room. And I got a cat in here, so I'm going to try to let the cat out the door. Come on, go ahead. There you go. Good cat. Fantastic. Okay, we're in week 6. Let me open up my slide deck and we'll get started in just a second. There we go. Slideshow. Hope night. Great day. We had a little ladies' night out in Manasquan tonight, so everyone was up and down Main Street shopping, and all the stores had specials for the women's night out. It was a lot of fun, and I had a lot of people stop in to visit with me. Okay, so we're into 6 weeks now. I'm just gonna kind of wait another minute or two for a few more people to enter into the room. Excuse me, everybody. Hope everybody's got a glass of water. I got one. Take a little sip. I was talking to Jay the other day, and in preparation for what we're going to be talking about tonight, excuse me, one of the things he said to me was, you can eat anything, but you can't eat everything. And what did he mean by that? He said, eventually we're all going to get to a point where we hope that you can eat everything, but not everything. So you can have small bites of different foods that you enjoy, and hopefully through this 12-week process, you're going to learn how to be able to eat, but also enjoy some of the foods that you may be abstaining from presently. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. There are certain foods that I abstain from, and the reason I do is that, there's an old saying, 1 is too many, and 10's not enough. And that's true for certain things, but hopefully we're going to be able to start to work around that. One of the things that Jade does is he goes out and gets a big bar of chocolate every week, and he breaks off 1 piece a day, and he has 1 piece of chocolate and puts the rest in the refrigerator. For some of us, that may work down the road. For others of us, we just can't have chocolate in the house. So as we move through this process, we're trying to help you to develop healthy habits, but not completely abstain from things if we can start to eat them under control. All right, so let's move on. We're in, like I said, week 6, and I'm just going to do a little bit of a review, as I always do before we start. So here's your 3-2-1 plate, just as a reminder. Now, the last week, everyone should have been in an eat more, exercise more mode. That meant that you had 3 full meals, you had the 2 protein snacks, and we also were able to go out and exercise a whole lot more. And with the 3-2-1, eat less, exercise less, we only had the 2 workouts and the 7 days of walking. Now we get the 3 workouts, we get the 2 burst training sessions, or the 2 metabolic chain workouts, and the 1 to 2 days of walking. So let's just review the Eat Less, Exercise Less program, because some of us are going to be going back to that this week coming up. So here we have our dinner plate, and we have half of it is fibrous vegetables, things like cauliflower, broccoli, asparagus, Brussels sprouts. We have our source of lean protein. Depending on the individual, that could be as little as 20 grams of protein. It could be as much as 50 grams of protein for others. And then we have the starch or the fat on the plate. So that could be the half a sweet potato, half a cup of brown rice, and so forth. We have, here we go. We have the 3 meals a day. And something came up with regards to intermittent fasting. I put something on Facebook. We got a couple questions on that today. What I mean by intermittent fasting is that we're going to try to go 12 hours between our last meal in the evening and our first meal in the morning. So if you had dinner at 7:30 or 8 o'clock on a Tuesday night, on Wednesday we don't want to have that first meal until at least 8 o'clock the following morning. And that's a term called neuroendocrine immune recovery, and it allows us to tap into more stored body fat. Now, some people can get away with going that 12 hours and then having a cardio session, whether it be an hour walk or 20 minutes of burst training or doing more of their metabolic training before they eat their first meal. So again, it helps to accentuate the amount of stored body fat. Other people don't do well with that because their blood sugar goes too low and they can't finish their workout. So, but for the most part, in the 3-2-1, where you're not doing the burst training or the metabolic conditioning, the use of that 12 hours goes a long way in helping us to maintain us in a burning stored body fat without any negative repercussions. So we have the 3 meals a day. The 2 of those meals are the protein shakes. Again, making sure that they have adequate amount of fiber and water and protein. You can use water, unsweetened almond milk, or coconut milk. And again, we also advocate the use of different protein powders that are soy-free and dairy-free, such as Vegas Sport, Plant Fusion. Susan's been using hemp protein, so I'm going to ask her to go on Facebook and actually give you a little bit of a report on that. I have stayed with the Plant Fusion for the time being. And then, of course, the 1 regular meal, like I showed you, the dinner plate, the 3 parts of vegetables, 2 parts of protein, and the 1 starch. And don't forget, starch does help you to sleep. With the EL exercise program, again, you know you're doing your 2 traditional workouts and just your 1 hour of walking every day. And don't forget about the rest and relaxation activities, things like naps, physical affection, time with pets, laughter, sauna, hot baths. Okay, I'm going to introduce this tonight. This weekend coming up, I'm going to be trying some, it's like a salt water magnesium soak. As soon as I do it, I'm going to a facility in Asbury Park that offers it, so I'll have to tell everybody about it next week. So you have to wait till next week to find out all about it. But I have been going for massage once every 2 weeks, and that certainly has been helping my low back and also helping my soft tissue soreness that I have from my exercise programs. So those rest and relaxation activities are very important. Oops, jumped ahead too far, guys. Sorry about that. There we go. Go back in. So here's your 3-2-1 workout again. Here we have a shoulder press, a row, a squat, and a push-up. So we got our 4 exercises. And again, we talked about the EL exercise program. I just talked about that. Oops, I'm still going backwards. Sorry, guys. Here we go. All right, and now we just finished up our 3-2-2 week, which had the eat more, exercise more model that we used. And again, here's a little difference in your plate because you're exercising a whole lot more. We're still keeping that lean protein at 20 to 50 grams per meal. We still have our half a plate of fibrous carbohydrates. Could be your big salad, your broccoli, your kale, your cauliflower. But now we're adding starch at least twice a day, one of your workouts and one with the evening meal. So here we have our 3 meals a day. Again, we're trying to still go those 12 hours at nighttime to the morning to aid in neuro recovery. In addition to the 3, we're also going to make sure we get those 2 protein shakes. Now, the key to these shakes is that we don't want to add fat or fruits to them, okay? We're going to add the fiber as needed. I typically put either the Plant Fusion, I'm sorry, not Plant Fusion, Garden of Life Perfect Food, which is like all your greens, or I grind up some kale or collard greens in my shakes. And again, I'm using a protein source as well. And don't forget about your workout. The EM exercise model is your 3 traditional weight training workouts a week, and we're also going to do metabolic chains, and we're going to do the burst training, and don't forget about your walking at least twice a week in this mode or this model. Walk every day, yes, you can walk every day, but in this model, we want to emphasize that we're still doing the weight training, we're still doing the burst training, and we're still doing our walking. So again, the workouts used in the EM mode are fast pace. We have many, many different workouts. I sent you an example of one in your last week handouts that you got delivered to your email. And again, everybody has access to the RX Studio, where all the exercise videos are all stored, and they're all metabolic chain activities. So all you have to do is get your laptop or your iPhone or your any type of handheld electronic device, whether it be your iPad or a tablet, and you could follow the exercise protocols with us. Or if you just want to print out the PDF, those are also available as well. And if anybody has any questions about the RX Studio, having trouble navigating it, please get in touch with us. That's why we're here. We're here to coach you. And again, here's just an example of the metabolic chain. Start at the top. You start with a shoulder press, then you may go into a squat, to a row, to a push-up, and go right back up to the top. And you're going to do each movement, at least 10 reps, and then you can move on to the next. Or with some of them, what we're doing is we go by time. So you just keep going until you can't. So you always hear us say, go until you can't, rest until you can for a full minute, and then you jump to the next activity, and you just keep that going for 20 minutes. People say, well, when do I rest? You rest when you need to rest. Okay, it's all about keeping the breathless and burning environment up as long as you can, but when you can no longer continue, then you rest. So on average, when I do these protocols with people, I would say they probably are exercising maybe 15 minutes out of the 20 minutes, and 5 minutes is resting, but it's not a total of 5 minutes continuous rest. It might be 15 seconds rest here, 30 seconds rest there. But the goal is to try to keep the activity moving for the full 20 minutes. And again, if you follow along with the video, that's not a problem because you're just following along with the fitness model. Okay, so now we're going to start to introduce some options. We're getting to the situation where people are saying, you know what, during the week, I have no trouble working out. I can work out really aggressively during the week, but on the weekends, I'm so busy and I got family things going on. Now the holidays are coming, and I just don't feel like I have that time to aggressively work out on the weekends. So now let's start to introduce some options. One of them is to eat more, exercise more during the week, Monday through Friday. So you're still eating your 3 meals, your 2 protein shakes, right? So that's 5 meals in the day. And you're doing those aggressive workouts. You might be doing a traditional weight training workout. You might be doing a burst training or a metabolic chain workout. And then on the weekends, because you don't have that much time, maybe all you can do on the weekends is walk, you can switch to an ELEL program. So you're only having 2 protein shakes and 1 whole food meal. Some people are exact opposite. Like, oh, I'm in and out of the city every day. It's harder for me to work out during the week. So what they do is they do an eat less, exercise less model Monday through Friday, which means they're having their 2 protein shakes, their 1 whole food meal. They're walking every day. Maybe they're walking half hour from the train to their office, or from the train to their home, walking at lunchtime. And then on the weekends, they have plenty of time. So those are the days that they're doing their heavy training. And because they're training more aggressively, they jump to the eat more, exercise more model during the weekend. So you can modify this. Some people say, well, I can work out. What about if I can work out Friday, Saturday, and Sunday? Well, then you could do eat more, exercise more Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you jump to an eat less, exercise less. What we're trying to do here is we're trying to get you into a normal lifestyle, something that's going to work for you long term. This is not a 12-week program, lose 20 pounds, and then go back to what you were doing before you started. What we're trying to do is we're trying to develop good habits that you can continuously do the rest of your life. Now, the other thing that we're going to introduce for people who are getting close to hitting their goal and starting to feel a little bit better about what they're doing is introducing the cheat meal on one day only. Okay? And then when people are at their goal, then we can start talking about doing a cheat meal on Saturday and Sunday only. And what is a cheat meal? A cheat meal is basically for 2 hours you eat whatever you want. Okay, now this is not something someone's going to do who's having trouble controlling their portion sizes, controlling the foods they eat. Because some of us, if we cheat on Friday, that cheat doesn't end till sometime Monday afternoon. So we don't want to do that if you're someone who feels like, you know what, Mike, I'm not out of the woods yet. I can't get away with that. The old saying, one is not enough. One is too many and 10 is not enough. That's a very famous saying. If you can't control what you eat after a cheat meal, then you shouldn't be doing cheat meals. It's pretty much that simple. But for some of us, you know what, Mike? I'm pretty much at my goal right now. I'm feeling really good. I've got a wedding Saturday night. I'm going to go to the wedding. I'm going to have some appetizer. I'm going to have my dinner. I'm going to have a couple glasses of wine, some cake. That's fine in those 2 hours. But then the next day, you're right back into an eat less mode. And you're probably going to have too much carbohydrate in that cheat meal. So at least the first or second meal that day, I wouldn't put any starch in it. I would hold my starch off till the evening and try to get as much fibers, carb, and protein and water as I can in those first 2 meals. Okay? So if anyone has questions about cheat meals, feel free to let me know. And you know what? When you have these cheat meals, again, like Jade said, you can eat anything but not everything. I wouldn't try to eat like a whole eggplant parmesan hero, because that's just way too much food. Cheat meals are really about enjoying your food, not gorging yourself. And I hate to use those kind of terms, but it's kind of the truth. So a cheat meal might say, oh, I'm really dying for pizza. Well, have a slice of pizza, not the whole pizza. Or have some eggplant parmesan, not the whole tray. Okay? I hope everyone's good with that, and hope you don't feel like I'm coming on too strong with that. But the cheat meal should be something that you enjoy. Say, wow, I can really savor this food. I can enjoy this food. Not eat until you're ready to burst. That's not the point of a cheat meal. Cheat meal is to enjoy yourself. So what are some of the barometers that we want to stay within to make sure that, you know, we're still moving in the right direction? Well, let's go back to the beginning. Is your HEC in check? How is your hunger? How is your energy? How is your cravings as we're starting to make these changes from eat more, exercise more, back to eat less, exercise less? Okay? HEC always has to stay in check. What about the metabolic effects body shape calculator? Are you maybe not losing any weight on the scale, but is there a difference in the circumference of your waist? Is there a difference in the circumference of your chest or your hips? These are the things we want to look at, and that's very, very simple to do. Okay, and I would really like it if everyone could do that this Friday and then send me the results so I know where people are at. I haven't gotten anything this week, so this would be a good idea. And if you're really running into a hard time with this, call me. I'm available Saturday. Come in. I'll measure you, and we'll take a look at where you're at. Okay? Percent body fat. Again, the body shape calculator will also give you your percent body fat. How are your clothes fitting you these days? How are your rings fitting you? That's something interesting. I went out last night to a function, and you know, be honest with you, my wedding ring's been tight for years, and I put it on and it's sliding on and off my hand. So that's very indicative that things are changing. I actually put on a pair of my the other day by mistake. That's a really good sign because he's a lot taller and leaner than I am. So something must be working for me. And how do you feel? Do you feel good? Do you feel strong? Do you feel energized when you're doing these workouts? Do you feel like out of them, or are they just wearing you down? These are the things that you need to look at. And these are the things you need to ask Susan and I questions. If your heck is in check, hunger and good cravings, energy's not bad, but you're real sore the next day, you can't even function, can't get out of bed, oh, I can't go up and down the stairs. You need to talk to us. We may need to modify your program. Okay. Now, process, you may be someone like me and you have food and eliminated. Okay. Focus on these. Add back only what does not cause you to get your heck out of check or nausea, constipation, or energy drain. So I'll give you an example on that. This summer, after being dairy-free for probably about 4 or 5 months, I decided, you know what, let me try to have some ice cream, just simple, ice cream. I was sick. I had very bad stomach cramps. Very indicative that since I cut the ice cream out and then I added it back in, it was very immediate. It was an immediate change, so it couldn't be anything else. Okay? There are certain other things that you keep out of your diet on a permanent basis. Wheat and gluten cause a lot of digestional issues. Dairy, like me. Nobody really needs to be eating corn or soy or starches, hydrogenated oils. Okay, I've cut that out. It's funny because people say, you don't drink it all. Glasses of wine, 5 beers in 2014. And I'm not saying that to be braggadocious. It's just that, when I was in college and for many years I consumed a lot of alcohol. I mean, I was drinking wine, a day, 1 or 2 glasses during the week, and it'd be very easy for wine on Saturday and a bottle of wine on Sunday with food. It seemed to be very social. So I'm coming from a position. Alcohol was very sociably accepted in the circles I ran in, and now I just hang out with my friends and my family, and I don't have to do that. I'll have some water or some branched chain amino acid drink, or I'll have some seltzer. And the holidays are coming up, and it's not even a thought for me. It's amazing when you take something out of your diet and you don't put it back in, how you really kind of lose that craving for it. I see that even with the sugar. I used to say, oh, how come cookies, or when am I going to have some cake, or when am I going to be able to eat some this or that? And once you cut it out of your diet, your brain's not looking for it anymore, because you know what? You've substituted it with so many other nutritious foods that your brain nervous system is satisfied. It's not looking for anything extra. Again, we still want to stay away from food chemicals and additives. Why food chemicals and additives? Again, they affect the adipostat in your brain. Remember, we talked about that just the other day. We talked about the weight regulating mechanism in your brain and how it's affected by food chemicals and food additives, stress, lack of exercise, and unbalanced blood sugar, just the other 3 that affect the weight regulating mechanism in the hypothalamus. But food chemicals and additives really do a job on you. Okay, eggs and or shellfish, again, are things that you might look to avoid. Now, most of us have been able to add eggs back into our diet without any real problem, so maybe I should even put that in there. And shellfish would be something for me. I'm allergic to shellfish, but shellfish tend to be bottom feeders, so they're not actually that high on the food chain as far as the best foods for you. But if you enjoy some shrimp or lobster on occasion, don't let it stop you, as long as it doesn't cause any bad reactions within your body. Okay, now what to watch for? Now we have 2 enzymes I want to talk about real quick. One is called hormone-sensitive lipase, which is a fat-burning enzyme. And there's another enzyme called lipoprotein lipase, which is a fat-storing enzyme. It's not important you know the names, but I want you to understand what happens when we combine fat and starch together. Okay, so what are combinations of fat and starch? I'm sure I have some examples coming up, but I'll just throw some at you real quick right now. A donut is probably top of the food chain as far as fat and sugar combined, or fat and starch combined. You have a white flour donut that has powdered sugar on it, and it's deep fried in fat. And if it has icing on it, there's fat and icing, right? Fat and sugar is an icing. Okay. Icing was originally put on cakes in Europe because they didn't want the cake to spoil. It helped to keep it fresh longer. That's why they put icings on cake originally. Okay. So when we combine fat and starch, we increase our lipoprotein lipase, which means we become better at storing fat, and we decrease our hormone-sensitive lipase, so we stop or we slow down the burning of fat. Now remember, in our genetic history, there were times when no food was available, so these enzymes saved us from starvation, and that's why carbs and fats are so attractive to us. So if you're gaining weight, watch your combination of fat and starches. What's another one that's a healthy fat and a healthy starch that we still have to watch out for? Putting butter and or olive oil on our sweet potatoes, right? That's a fat and a starch. You got to be careful with that because it can really backfire on you. So keep your heck in check, even in maintenance. Remember to watch your hunger level, your energy levels, and your cravings. If you can't control cravings anymore, you need to modify the approach you've taken. If you've taken the wrong approach, your heck will get out of check. One place where you can easily fall off the rails is when you start eating highly palatable food again. And that's like the guy who says, I'm going to have a little eggplant parmesan, or I'm going to have a little pizza. Okay, so keep that heck in check. Most of us had the experience of going along fine with our diets. I'm not getting a lot of complaints from anyone. Your exercise and your healthy lifestyle. Then we decide to indulge a little bit with the food we love, like pizza, and as soon as we do, it's as if we're taken over by some evil demon that's forcing us to eat everything in sight. So if you eat a particular food and it really throws your heck out of check, and for days going on you have these crazy cravings again, you got to watch that trigger food. It can really mess you up and really sabotage your results. So that's what we were talking about. A lot of times people start on a Friday and they start throwing a cheat meal in on a Friday, maybe at lunchtime, or Friday night, go out to dinner, and your cheat meal turns into a cheat week. Why? Well, there is some research we can talk about. It's mostly done on animals, but it's being quickly confirmed in humans that certain foods not only lead us to overeat at the current meal, but cause cravings for more of those highly enjoyable foods later. Some have described this as being food addicted, and research is showing that that's not far from the truth. So again, if there's certain foods that cause you to eat, but not just that meal, but the day and the next day and the day after that, those are foods that you're just not ready to return yet. So even though Jade says you can eat anything, but not everything, not ready to try to eat anything at this point in time. You still need to avoid. Okay. Beware of the negative spiral. Choose your food. Which foods are on your watch list, especially at this stage when you might feel like the heavy lifting of weight loss is over? Okay, what I mean by the heavy lifting of weight loss means like you hit it really hard and you're doing really, really well. Ease back a little bit. You still have to be mindful of any foods in these, because these are the things that are going to trip you up. Salt, fat, sugar, and starch. So the funny thing is, you know, a lot of the food companies realize that if you can combine salt, fat, and starch, you can get anybody to eat just about anything, because these are really high on the trigger list. These are foods that when they hit your taste buds, they kind of light up the room. So if you take something like potato chips as another example, okay, some people, there's an old saying, you know, you can't just eat one Lay's potato chip. And it's true, because what are potato chips? It's a starchy potato, deep fried in fat with salt, right? That's what potato chips are. It's also what pretzels are, okay? Pretzels may be baked, but it's still a white starch, okay, that could be, well, there's fat in putting a pretzel together, right? Because something's got to hold it together. And it even has little salt crystals on it. So these are the things you got to be mindful of. And it's funny because there are people who've said to me, I'll just use this example real quick, then I'll move on. You know, Mike, I was looking at that grass-fed beef you were talking about the other day, and it was like $7.99 a pound or $8.99 a pound. And I said, okay, well, how much are Doritos per pound? And I get the blank stare. I say, okay, a bag of Doritos, a 4-ounce bag of Doritos is $3.99. Multiply it by 4 to get a pound, and you're paying $16 a pound for Doritos. And how much nutritional value is in Doritos? None. And what is the likelihood that you're probably going to eat the whole bag of Doritos? Pretty high. Well, what about the small bag? That's only 99 cents. Yeah, there's an ounce in there. Okay, so 99 times 16, you're back up to $16 a pound for Doritos. Okay, so choose wisely. Spend $4 on a dozen eggs that can last you for the whole week, as opposed to $4 for a bag of Doritos that'll last you for the next hour. So, choosing your food. So choosing foods containing both fat and sugar, like donuts or sugar and salt, are most concerning. The fat, the sugar, and the salt. Sorry, I got a little confused there for a second. Even fat and starch can be an issue for some. So we've kind of beat this dead horse, but we talk about things like bagels and cream cheese, pizza, bread and butter. Okay. So these foods may seem to be the only things that will satisfy your craving or crush your hunger in the short run, but they typically end with you craving more of the same foods later. That is why you want to do your best to avoid them if possible. This is for people who aren't at their goal weight yet and are really looking to continue to move on with their food program, not someone who's ready for cheat meals yet. So if you're in that situation, let's just continue. Eating some of these foods can make certain people end up in a negative spiral of cravings and high amounts of food intake and weight regain. It also seems there might be a genetic component to this, so pay close attention to your individual reactions to these foods when choosing your cheat meal. Okay, so if your cheat meal turns into a cheat week, then you will quickly know what the deal is and will need to dial things back. Remember, the best way to help an unbalanced metabolism recover is to revert back to either a full 3-2 eat less, exercise less model, or 3-2-2, which is your eat more, exercise more approach. Draw on all you've learned to make sure to continue to seek balance. Most people, in my experience, when they're in a bad place, the best place to run back to is an eat less, exercise less model. Get back to doing your hour of walking. Get back to your protein shakes that are high in protein, fiber, and water. Use your branched chain amino acids with your protein shake. Use your teaspoon of cacao with your protein shake. The branched chain amino acids will help to balance out your blood sugar. Okay? The cacao will help to balance out your brain chemistry, your serotonin and dopamine levels. And cacao is also very high in magnesium, which will help you to ease the anxiety you may have from going off on a cheat week bender. It'll start to bring you back. Okay? I'll take this time to also talk a little bit about this. We talked about sleep 2 weeks ago. Okay? And some people go on to a cheat week and have a lot of trouble with sleeping. Okay? What you want to look for when that happens, because probably you're not going to tolerate cacao very well at nighttime, you can use the tyrosine and the 5-HTP and melatonin. These are 3 things that are very easy to get at a health food store. If you're looking for them, Susan and I also have them in the office. I have these glycerin strips right now that are really, really good. You stick one under your tongue and you fall asleep real quick. Or you can use Life Extension, make something called Tranquil Sleep, which is very, very good. So ask us for help. We have a lot of these answers. You know, I don't want people to be tripped up for long periods of time and really start to lose all the gains that you made before you come to us and ask questions. Always keep your heck in check. That's your goal. Like at every phase, you have to adjust and tweak it if something's going wrong and you're not burning fat, or worse, you're gaining weight. If this is the case at this phase, again, go back to your 3-2-1, eat less, exercise less, or your 3-2-2, eat more, exercise more approach, and stick with it. Do not try to eat less and exercise more for long. It will make things worse. So don't go back to starving yourself and going to the gym and running on the treadmill for an hour. We know that doesn't work. We got you away from that, remember? We got you into the walking. We got you into the making sure you're getting your 8 hours of sleep. Make sure that you were eating the right foods. In 2 weeks, I'm doing a talk on nutritional insurance. We'll talk a little bit more about supplements. At this point right now, we've kind of focused on things like just taking a daily multivitamin, multimineral. We talked a little bit about cacao. We talked about melatonin with sleep and 5-HTP and tyrosine, that kind of thing. But I'm going to do a whole talk in a couple weeks more on supplementation and answer a whole lot of questions on that. Make sure you're avoiding foods that combine starch, fat, and sugar, and try to make healthier choices. Modify your carbohydrate intake downward, and make sure you also monitor your fats. Okay, remember, focus on diet inputs, not exercise. Compensating with exercise too often will make things worse and is never the best approach to balance out metabolism. Food is. So what I'm saying here is focus on your diet. Diet is primary, exercise is secondary. Right? It's very, very important. If you get your food under control and you eat less and you exercise less and you continue with your walking and getting your sleep and drinking your water, you're going to do a whole lot better. Just take it back to the most simple base you can. Do what works for you. Okay. If a slight decrease in carbs or fat doesn't work, then you knock off a little bit more fat and a little bit more carbohydrate out of your diet. The key to success is keeping your heck in check and knowing your tolerance for the individual foods that cause you issues if they're overdone. All right, we talked about the cheat meals. I think I kind of beat that up pretty good. Okay. Basically, I don't want to spend too much more time on cheat meals because I talked a lot about them. The best example, especially with the holidays coming up, is, Saturday night we're going to a big dinner dance, or we're going to a wedding, we're going to a Christmas party, okay? If you're in a good place all week and going into that cheat meal on Saturday night, make sure maybe you do 2 protein shakes that day. Saturday night, Sunday, your first 2 meals, no starches, okay? You may try to avoid that. And it's good to get up first thing Sunday morning on an empty stomach and do your cardio. I think that's going to help get you back in check if you have a cheat meal on a Saturday night, right? So just be mindful of how we handle. Boy, why did I write so much on cheat meals? I think I kind of killed this. Just remember, limit the meal to a 2-hour time frame and to keep yourself from eating continuously all day. Okay, remember guys, it's a process. It's always changing. In our experience, we've noticed that people prefer to be looking for something to do rather than actually doing it. What do I mean by that? This is the perfect thing. I get this all the time. Mike, I'm doing really good and I'm losing weight, my heck's in check, I have good energy. What else do I need to do? Well, you've heard me say this 1,000 times. Don't change anything. Keep doing what you're doing. People are always looking for the next best thing. Okay, the way I kind of liken this is to the guy who's 18 years old and he's dating a girl, but he's always looking for that next girl to come along. What's the next best thing? Or the guy who's really happy with his car, but maybe there's a better car out there. Maybe there's something better coming along. People do this with diets all the time. Oh, I'm on this diet, and oh, but this one's got to be better, so I'm going to switch this and I'm going to go onto the grapefruit diet because I hear you lose weight a whole lot faster. Listen, guys, I've given you the best of the best. I've been doing this for 30 years. I've learned from some of the greatest teachers in the health and fitness profession. The eat less, exercise less model, there's nothing better for weight loss than that model. Bumping up to an eat more, exercise more model helps you to burn, or continue to burn fat, start to build back some muscle, and start to allow you to eat a little more food, allow you to start building in cheat meals. But we've given you the blueprint. Don't look for the next best thing coming along. Go with what works. A lot of you have had success with this. If you're in the process of achieving and you're being successful, don't change anything. Don't go looking for the next best thing. Okay? Stick with what works. Okay, so here's my translation. Oftentimes, if we find something that works, we still feel the need to seek out something else. Maintenance is a process. It needs to be practiced and mastered over time rather than a protocol that's followed for a short while and then abandoned to do something else. You already know what to do from this point forward. You really don't have to make any changes. Okay? Looking for the next best thing is the dieter's way of thinking, not the diet detectives. You need to guard against this dieter's mentality and maintenance. The path to mastery comes through practicing what you know again and again and avoiding the natural human tendency to find something else or find something better. Okay? Think of it like learning to play a musical instrument or learning a new language. You continue to practice over and over and over again. You just don't learn the violin one day and put it down. You keep at it. Maintenance is an ongoing journey. Okay? People say, does that mean I'm never going to be able to have a glass of wine again? That's not what I said. It could be included in one of your cheat meals. But it doesn't mean you go back to drinking every day at every meal, right? It's part of something you enjoy doing. It can be part of your cheat meal. But then the next day, you go back to getting clean again. Why do we do that? Because your goal is to have optimal health and wellness. So it doesn't have to happen every day. I'm not telling you not to never have another piece of cake again. I'm saying have it in that 2-hour window as part of your cheat meal on Friday night or Saturday night or Sunday, whatever it is, but then go back to your program that works good for you, whether it be more of an eat less, exercise less, or an eat more, exercise more model. Think the behaviors, the heck and check, the staying on track and balance. All this needs to be reinforced over and over and over again so they become habits. A lot of what we've talked about is biochemical, but there's a huge behavioral component to it as well. If EL is working for you, stay with it, but please incorporate one cheat meal with a 2-hour time limit per week minimum. So I'm encouraging you to go out and flex your muscle a little bit and have that cheat meal and make it something you really enjoy. But then again, remember, we got to get back on track right away. You can't turn into a cheat weekend or cheat week. Okay? If you do EL during the week and EM on the weekends, please do so, or vice versa. Monitor your HEC and your body shape. Use your aim to determine the course of action needed to have optimal health and happiness. Okay, I'm going to get out of this and go back to my screen here. Here we go. All right, let me go back to my chat to see if I have any questions waiting for me. No questions tonight. I guess I did a good job. Fantastic. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Well, it's about 8:45, and like you, I have to get up early tomorrow morning, so we're going to call it a night. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I hope I didn't beat the dead horse too bad, so everyone kind of got a little flavor of what it's like to go on a maintenance program. I got 5 more weeks to go, right? Because tonight was number 6. We got 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. My goal is to get you all the way through the holidays. Again, Susan and I are here to help you, to coach you in any endeavor. So please, there are no bad questions. Please ask us for help if you need to. And that's it. Everybody have a great evening and a great weekend, and I'll talk to everyone real soon.